Welcome to Declassified Beyond the Brief. I am Devendra Subedi. In today's episode, we try to declassify someone who, as a child, was a prodigy, became the toast of the country in his youth, turned out to be a rebellion in politics, and was one of the catalysts in establishing Federal Republic in the country. Though for a short stint, served as the Prime Minister of the country, still remembered for his progressive and visionary works. One of the favorite sons of Gorkha, his political journey from Jana Morcha to Maoist rebellion, attempt to start alternative politics with Naya Shakti Nepal and later Pragatisheel Loktantrik Party has been interesting, while critics sometimes level him as a political alien. Let's welcome former Prime Minister and Chairman of Pragatisheel Loktantrik Party, Dr. Baburam Bhattarai. Welcome to the show, Dr. Bhattarai.
Thank you.
What brought you to politics, Dr. Bhattarai, from a very bright student that topped the SLC then and back to politics? What brought you to politics?
Now, as you know, I come from a very humble peasant rural background. Coincidentally, I happened to top the National School Living Certificate exam in 1970, so that provided me an opportunity for higher education. When I later went for higher education under the then Colombo plan in Chandigarh, I studied first architecture and then urban and then regional planning. I did my doctorate. So, during that time, I just questioned myself. I could be a good technician, good engineer, but as long as my country remains very backward, very poor, underdeveloped, then my identity as a established engineer from a poor country won't give me happiness, personal happiness. So, then I thought I should not only study and know the world, but I should involve in changing the world. As the famous quotation of Karl Marx I read in the 1970s, Che Guevara and Karl Marx were very popular among the youths. So, his famous quotation was, the philosophers have interpreted the world in various ways. The point is to change it. That means you not only understand the world, but you have to change it also. So, then I thought life will be more meaningful if I indulge myself, devote myself for changing my country. That is why I indulge in politics.
You spoke about your desire to change the country. Do you remember when you were first exposed to Marxist or Maoist philosophy and ideology?
No, when I was in Chandigarh, so I used to read all sorts of things, from Gandhi to Marx to all the scientists and philosophers of basically the Enlightenment, European Enlightenment. So, comparatively, I found the idea of Karl Marx later on practiced by various practitioners, especially Che Guevara and others in those Latin American countries. I think that is better suited for changing Nepal. So, that time we did not have any sort of democracy here, absolute monarchy was ruling, and the world was gradually moving towards universal democratization. So, I thought first we had to go through a democratic revolution, and on the basis of that we can have fast economic development. My purpose was to see a prosperous, developed Nepal. The means was to go through a democratic revolution, empower the people, mobilize our resources, put the resources in the hands of the people, and then only a country can develop. With this understanding, I had plunged in a revolutionary politics.
I asked this question to you because you studied in India, so probably you had that opportunity to get those literature. Okay, if you were in Nepal, for example, even those literatures were banned at that time when the Panchayat regime was at its peak. So your study in India, your scholarship, your study in India, did that help you to indulge in what you said, your vision to change the world, and especially the Marxist philosophy or ideology that attracted you?
No, I didn't follow a very dogmatic type of Marxism. Since then the Soviet Union was still there. In my understanding, I did my own self-study of Marxist literature, and before that, history of revolution in Europe. Particularly, I was impressed with the French Revolution. The idea of liberty, equality and fraternity, that really gave me a enlightenment. These three key words, liberty, equality and fraternity. So these are the ones to be pursued in life. So that's why, though I could have just pursued the question of only liberty, which the liberal democratic forces do, and only equality, which the Marxists pursue, my understanding was liberalism, liberal democracy just pursued just one aspect of democracy, that is liberty, and the social democracy or democratic socialism or whatever you would like to say, that focused only on equality, and just they virtually abandoned the question of liberty. And the fraternity or empathy, which is just a human character, I think both the political philosophies of liberalism and communism, they abandoned. So my convictions in the very beginning was these three components of enlightenment: liberty and equality and fraternity. These three needs to be combined together. So that was my philosophy. So within Marxism also, I always continued this debate. So you must have heard during the Maoist people movement in the parties, I was always a rebel there. I always raised the question of liberty within a communist party. So after making the federal constitution of Federal Democratic Republic, then
you joined the mainstream politics.
No, I wouldn't like. I know not mainstream politics. There is no mainstream. It's a very wrong word. People say mainstream politics. There are no mainstream politics. Mainstream was a monarchist, absolute autocracy. That was the mainstream. We changed that, and later on there a partial monarchical democracy was there. We overthrew that. So full democracy, you would say. Full democracy was assured after we made the constitution through the Constituent Assembly. And in my major focus even those days was, until unless we have a constitution promulgated by elected Constituent Assembly, you can't have complete full democracy. This was where I differed with both with the Nepali Congress, who follows liberal democracy, and the communist parties who follow the Marxist communism. So I was a critic of both these lines. Even then I was a critic. You can see.
Yeah.
So the constitution what we have drafted, where I played a major role, you would see we have called socialism based on democracy. You see the word in the preamble only, we have written socialism based on democracy. Okay. Otherwise Congress friends would just focus on democracy, and our communists would talk only of socialism. So it was my conviction, we need democracy and socialism. Socialism and democracy are not antagonistic. They are the branches of the same tree of democracy. This was my understanding.
Dr. Bhattarai, you spoke about how you succeeded in writing a constitution through people elected representatives. But I'd like to take you back. You said you were influenced initially by Marxist philosophy, ideology, but your shift to Maoist ideology, when did that happen and how did that happen?
No, Maoism is just a branch of a Marxist tree. So there are various branches of Marxism. In the Western more developed society, national societies, there is different type of practice of Marxism. And in the more backward countries like ours, developing countries, mostly rural areas, preponderance of peasantry. In those areas, the Marxism practice is slightly different. So
is it the change agents that these two ideologies pick differently, like peasants or workers or laborers? Is it
no,
that, is that the difference?
Any type of ideology is a tool, you see.
Yeah.
It's not an end in itself. Some people are just take it as a religion, as a dogma. I don't believe in that. I believe I am a scientist. I believe in science, and it is always changing, evolving. It never remains a dogma. So for me, a Marxist method, I call Marxist method of a dialectical and historical materialism. That method gives you to see the world in a dynamic frame, ever changing, full of contradiction, and you should whether in the physical world, social world, economic world, or intellectual, mental world, there are unity of opposites. Two sides collide always, and that leads to unity, struggle, and transformation. That is the basic law of evolution. That is how the world evolved, this is how society evolved, how the human being evolved, and how the society and economy evolved. So within that, we have to see everything in terms of space and time. Like later on, after Marx, Einstein, even in the physical world, he developed that theory of space-time continuum. So I am the student of that school of thought. So in that sense, everything is ever changing. So you should also, your ideology also should change according to the change in time and space. So that's why till a certain point we applied that Maoist ideology, and after the promulgation of the constitution, after the completion of the democratic revolution, when our agenda shifted, then we had to shift our ideology also, and then I started the new force movement, Naya Shakti movement, or the alternative politics movement, and the ideology of progressive democracy. Now I believe in a political ideology of progressive democracy suited to our condition, and globally my political philosophy is scientific humanism.
So I wanted to ask you, so that was not an ideological shift. That
No,
was more of
just evolution, evolution.
So that was part of your political evolution and your attempt to bring changes in the country. So that was just part of this. And now you have reached up to Pragatisheel Loktantric Party.
Progressive democracy, I would say.
Progressive Democratic Party. Is this another attempt to raise the alternative leftist politics in Nepal?
No, alternative left or right, I'll say they are not permanent things, you see. When in the motion, sometimes you tilt towards the left. Left means it is actually more inclusive, is focused more on equality. Right is focused more on liberty and a less emphasis on equality. But evolution doesn't go in a straight line. You see, in a spiral motion it goes. So sometimes you have to be slightly left, you have to be slightly right.
So you want to say there is nothing called leftist or rightist?
Yeah, nothing.
Especially
nothing.
It has to change as per the context.
It always moves forward in a spiral, not in a straight line. In a spiral it goes, moves up. So that way, progressive democracy is a correct terminology, which is the most advanced developed form of democracy suited to the modern world and modern Nepal. The big debate on this issue globally, it is not only the question. If you see the big political thinkers globally, they have been talking of going beyond liberalism and communism, trying to build up a new political ideology and philosophy suited to the modern world, which they call Fourth Industrial Revolution.
As you explained earlier, you have differences in the party, and now you have started your own way of Progressive Democratic Party. How is your relationship with the former comrades?
I have a good relationship with everybody. See, even with the monarchy, even with the king, I have no enmity personally. See. That was a system which is now outdated. So I have no enmity with the former king and the royalists. And with our Nepali Congress people who believe in democracy, I have very good working relation with this friend. I think young friends, I don't know what exactly happened right now, Mr. Gagan Thapa and Mr. Prakash Sharma.
We will definitely talk about the changing dynamics as well.
So I have good relation with them, and with the communist, now the Nepal communist left, I just jokingly tell them, now you are not a left, you have been historically left out, you are just caught in the old dogma and you are not able to develop. So, do not call yourself left, you are left out, so I call them.
That's an interesting term to use.
So, that is I am trying to go beyond that, you see, that progressive democracy, every is just flowing forward, you see, progressively moving forward.
Allow me to ask this, Dr. Bhattarai. Did the 10 years of people war that the Maoist party, then Maoist party, waged fulfill its promises to its full extent? Has it been able to do that?
No, no, everything, nothing is full. It's relative. Everything is relative. If you see the basic demands of the Maoist people, were the 40-point demands, which are drafted by me and presented.
You were one of the persons
I
who
was the
brought
basic drafter of that 40-point demands, and I presented the then Prime Minister, Mr. Sharwaz Doba. There are three sections of that. One is question nationalism, which in a globalized world, there is a developed countries and underdeveloped countries. So, that underdeveloped countries are always in the shadow of the developed countries. So, that always brings some friction in the national sovereignty of the country. So, this is one of the questions. So, we have raised some questions there, and the other question is the question of democracy, democracy for all, you see. No, not only privileged people, but all the peasants, workers, women, Dalits, and all sections of oppressed nationalities. And the third is the people's livelihood, economic development for all. So, these are three sections of 40-point demands. Of them, the democratic demands are mostly met. You see, making of the constitution, the federal democratic constitution through a constitutional assembly, more or less completes the democratic revolution. But the other part, two part, full national sovereignty and economic development, these questions, two parts are still left. So, now my idea after completion of that process of making a constitution was, now let us focus on economic development now. And then the question of nationalism is a very long term question, and that will come last. This is my idea.
Dr. Bhattarai, you, as you said, very interestingly said, the questions of full national sovereignty is still not met. Can you elaborate on that? Are we not a sovereign country? Are we not a sovereign people at the moment?
Yeah, we are member of the United Nations. We are a sovereign country by treaties, even by the Treaty of 1923 with the then British colonists in India. Nepal's full sovereignty has been accepted in principle.
Yeah.
So, even 1950 treaty also accepted in principle. But what happens in practice is, when your country is not developed, you are economically, politically, militarily weak, then the larger, stronger countries limit your sovereignty in practice. So, that way to exercise full sovereignty. Formally, we are full sovereign country, full independent country, but in practice, as long as we remain backward, poor and militarily weak, we can't exercise full sovereignty. Now, just see what is happening now. The US president just goes and captures the president of Venezuela, takes him to USA, and he declares himself as the president of Venezuela. It is such an anarchic world, he is prevailing. So, in case of Nepal also, though we have not reached that stage, being a full sovereignty formally, but practically we have had to compromise many things. So, for that, how do you go about? Either you have to fight war and win and exercise your sovereignty. If you do not have that capacity, then diplomatically just deal with it. As I think Deng Xiaoping of China famously said, as long as your time is not opportune for you, then he said, bide your time and hide your restraint. That is very famous quotation. So, this is the time for us to bide our time, hide our restraint, and focus on economic development and empower yourself.
So, empowering oneself by becoming economically robust, improving the livelihoods of the people, and making the country prosperous. Is that the only way to preserve our sovereignty in the present
I would
context?
say only way. There are many ways. There are many dimensions of nationalism, sovereignty, and all these things. But one of the major issue is, as long as you empower your people, as long as you are not able to fully develop the potential of your people and use your natural and other resources, you cannot develop your capacity to deal with the big powers. So, for that, politically we should we are a fully sovereign country, independent country. We are proud of that. You are one of the oldest country in the world, as far as I understand. You are one of the 25 oldest country in the world. Out of the 200 countries now, we come as of the 25 oldest in the world. But because of economic lack of economic development and late ushering in democracy, late empowerment of the people, and late economic development, we have not been able to fully exercise our sovereignty in practice.
All right. That's another discourse that you are trying to do. You were the finance minister once, where you started a few programs that are still struggling, which should have been some of the basis for empowering especially workers, but they have not been materialized to full extent. We'll talk about that later. But now, moving back to the changing political landscape of this country, Dr. Bhattarai, your take on the recent GenZ movement in Nepal and the aftermath so far. What's your take on that?
No, it was a spontaneous uprising of the youth in Nepal, because I had been forecasting for the last 10 years, immediately after promulgation of the constitution. And when I embarked on a mission of organizing a new political force, new alternative politics, that time only I had said, now our focus should be on very rapid economic development, so that we can provide jobs to our youth, provide good education and health facilities and social security measures. Until that happens, only this formal democracy we have promulgated through the constitution cannot be realized in practice. That will lead to frustration of the masses of the people, and there will be another uprising. So that's what I had forecast that time only, you see. So this GenZ uprising is just a result of that. Till the 1950s, we were in a totally dark age. Two system of autocracy, Rana autocracy and Shah autocracy, well prevailing in Nepal. We, after overthrowing the Rana autocracy, then we again fell in the trap of Shah autocracy till the 1990. We slightly slackened that autocracy, but we were not able to totally overthrow it. So we had to mount another struggle, which we call People's War, against that remnant of feudalism. Only in 2008 we abolished monarchy, and only in 2015 we wrote our democratic constitution. So till from 1950 to 2015, it was an era, it was a time of democratic revolution. We had not completed our democratic revolution, you see. In other countries, like in French Revolution and other revolutions, they have to make a full-fledged revolution, you see. But in our case,
these were incomplete revolutions.
They were incomplete. Because of that incomplete revolution, we again we had to fight for completion of a democracy. Now, only after 2015, democratic revolution was complete. But now, just to complete 2025, 26, we have just entered. That's just 10 years, you see. In 10 years, what should have happened, as if I was correct and if people had correctly understood me, immediately after that 2015, we should have made a course correction in our politics and shifted our agenda towards good governance and economic performance. That should have been the focus. But what happened was, the old parties, especially the old leaders of the Congress and Communist Party, the Maoist and UML, they are the same two branches of the same tree. So these people just indulge in rampant corruption. They didn't deliver, and they had no clear vision to take Nepal, lead Nepal in the 21st century. Because of that lack of vision and corruption, rampant corruption, and lack of economic development, this youth uprising occurred.
So will this be the last one for some time, that this will change either parties will correct their course or the leaders will correct their course now?
No, now we are in a very critical juncture. You see, after the GenZ uprising, the government has resigned, the parliament has been dissolved, and the interim government is organized in an election. So this is a time of great test for the Nepalese people, whether we will again hand over the reign of power to the old discredited corrupt political leaders, or will bring new leaders with a new ideology, a new vision to suit the demands of the 21st century. So, it's a big challenge. So, people like us are pushing through developing or organizing a new alternative political force which has a good vision of leading Nepal in the 21st century and resolve this economic, social, cultural and geopolitical problems, at least for a longer time.
We are having a wonderful discussion with former Prime Minister Dr. Baburam Bhattarai on contemporary political issues, his political career and many more. On the second part of this conversation, we move to a different thing. Dr. Bhattarai, though for a very short period, also assumed the high office of the Prime Minister of this country, and during his tenure, he tried his best to do some of the things which are still remembered. Dr. Bhattarai, now let me take you back to your prime ministerial tenure. When you assumed the office, what exactly was your vision? What I will do? How I will change this country?
In 2006, when the Maoist revolution led to a combined people's movement, and we agreed to go for a constituent assembly and abolish monarchy and promulgate a constitution through the constituent assembly. So, after the election, I became finance minister in 2008. The Maoist party and the coalition led it. At that time, constitution was not promulgated. So, when I became prime minister in 2011-13, that time also constitution was not made. So, main agenda of those government, including mine, was to make the constitution, to complete the peace process, and till that time we had two armies, two integration of the army. These three agenda were the main agenda, and the delivery, governance and economic development were the secondary agenda. So, when I assumed PM's office in 2011, so I had openly pronounced my foremost priority will be to integrate the two armies and complete the peace process and try to facilitate the making of the new constitution, and I will try to give some semblance of governance and economic development for the people. So, I think during that short period, I performed quite well. People remember. Unfortunately, I was removed as a prime minister, and somebody non-elected person was given the responsibility for election. That is a part of history, and so the late history judge.
Some of the works that you did, as you said, are still remembered. For example, nobody had dared, even during the absolute monarchy period, nobody had dared to even touch a single house in Kathmandu that were pre-congested. You decided to do it. You got the support of the other individuals as well. And then Kathmandu became Kathmandu what it is today, wide roads. Still cannot accommodate the growing traffic. But critics also say that that was a pretty rushed move. And some of the people who have been displaced still remember that, but in a very critical way to you. What do you have to say to that?
No, the people just say, people have very short memory and very partial understanding of the reality. I myself, being an architect and an urban regional planner, Kathmandu being a very ancient, beautiful city, had become very crowded place and very much polluted, and a lot of traffic jams. So, being a architect planner, I thought I could contribute something without much economic expenditure, because that time our economy was very weak. We were not able to finance even the regular expenditure of the country, and we had to I had spent on many other things, development activities, but just trying to make a city more convenient and beautiful. Maybe I could start with the expansion of the roads and trying to facelift the city. That is how I had started, and I think I fairly did well. And so not only that, people just remember the expansion of the road. I established a separate urban development ministry.
Yeah.
So that we would have a planned urban development elsewhere also. And then I established a Kathmandu Valley Development Authority, so that whole Kathmandu Valley could be developed in a organized and planned manner. So these were the initiatives I took it, but very small time we had. People don't understand the value of the development of road and planned development, but later on practically they realize it.
If I call your tenure as a transitional Prime Minister, will I be wrong, or is that okay?
Yeah, that is a transition. What I did was symbolically I made some good initiative for economic development. Like when I was a finance minister, the tax reform and these things I did led to a record growth in revenue, I think, which has not been matched even now. 33% revenue growth during my tenure through good governance.
Yeah.
And later on, when I was a Prime Minister, I had started on National Pride project, a country which is just transiting from a agro-based economy to a industrial economy. We need to invest on big infrastructure like the roads, airports, big irrigation canals, hydropower projects. So 17 National Pride projects I had initiated. They are still not completed, but that has given a good direction for the development of Nepal. And the third thing what people should remember was, we are sandwiched between India and China. Both are emerging into a global power, and China is now the second largest economy, and India will soon be the third largest economy. So when we are in between India and China, we should try to take benefit out of it. It is not people see as a challenge, but I see as an opportunity. So I try to have a bilateral agreement, the BIPA agreement, bilateral investment promotion and protection agreement. So I sign with India and I would about to sign with China, and that was a good initiative. Started an investment board to bring about capital and technology from other countries and open up industries and provide jobs within the country. I think these were the good initiatives, and along with this, Nepal is still a poor country, poor peasantry and small businesses are prevailing. So I constructed a separate ministry of cooperative and poverty alleviation and constituted the cooperative board. So the two ways, so one was a top-down development, another was a bottom-up development. I think this path, this roadmap which I carved that during that period, I think people will remember or realize later.
Dr. Bhattarai, given an opportunity, what are your take on the election? And if you have an opportunity to govern this country again as the Prime Minister, are you ready for that?
No, we are in a very precarious position. You see, the old forces are decaying and declining, and new forces are not taking shape, you see. So people like us are trying to push forward a progressive democratic alternative political force which would make good governance and economic development as a major agenda. I think we are yet to develop into a substantial size. So what happens in a country like ours, which is very underdeveloped, is the populism, various types of populism takes over in politics, you see. So they are frustrated with the old forces. The new forces need to have a concrete vision and correct political and economic roadmap for development. But that needs patience, that is vision also. But people want shortcuts, you see.
Yeah.
So very populist leaders, we come around and they will say, okay, overnight I will make a heaven, will take you to the moon. They will make such promises, and I think there is a danger of our youth being swayed by that populist movement and force. If that happens, I think that will be again like choosing between the devil and the deep sea. You see, you come out of the devil and drown in the deep sea. So, I am slightly worried about that. So, still I am trying to bring about a progressive democratic.
So, are you going to vie for the election or not? My question straightforward.
So as of now, I am not inclined to fight election.
Because even in the last election, you did not go into the first past.
I want to push forward young generation people, so that even after I leave this world, this ideology of progressive democracy will take root. Nepal will embark on a long-term economic development and prosperity.
So, you are declaring right now that this is the time for the youths and the younger generation to come up. Even in your party, you are doing that?
Yes.
And others should also do that?
Yes, even the parties, I think the parties should restructure and we need in fact a radical restructuring of the whole politics in Nepal, so that we have a new leadership with a new ideology and new political program to suit the demands of the 21st century.
Do you see that coming in the two major parties? One just finished its general convention, the other one special general convention being called, and still not clear what's going to happen till date. Do you see that change being embraced by these two large parties?
So, I don't think the large parties will fully change. I don't think, because they have been thoroughly degenerated and outdated. They have not been able to develop their political program and ideology. Even the old leaders of 70, 80 years, I don't think they will change. But some good signs are there within the Nepali Congress. New youths are trying to reorganize. Let us see how it goes. But I am very sorry about the communist parties and factions. These old leaders just ganging up for their survival and totally discarding the mission of change. So, my hope is the new political forces will come ahead and lead this country, but I am a bit worried about the rise of populist forces.
Again, the same old way, as you said earlier, out of the devil and into the deep sea sort of thing might happen to the public when it comes to vote.
Yeah, that danger is there. I hope that won't happen.
And what strategy your party, the Progressive Democratic Party, is going to take in this upcoming election? What's your strategy?
So, first priority would be strengthening our own organization and go to the people with the correct.
So, you are participating in the election?
No, our party will participate.
Yeah, of course.
Party will participate. I will campaign for our leaders. Some good people are joining the
party.
Party.
They have joined, and you must have been pretty much excited with that.
So I'm trying to push them forward and do whatever I can do for them. Then we should try to. I'm also trying for a broad alliance of
and after the election,
alternative and new forces.
Do you see that a possibility after the election, March 5 election day?
I am hopeful. I'll try for it, but I can't forecast.
What about the March 5 election itself? How sure you are it will happen?
No, it should happen. If it doesn't happen, that will be a disaster for the country.
How is the interim governance of Prime Minister Sushila Karki doing at this moment, in your opinion?
And she is doing quite well, but I think we need more from her. I think people expect more.
Yeah, expectations.
GenZ youth also expect more from her, and people. I am a well wisher of hers. Still, I wish she could do more.
As you said, I am a well wisher of her. You were also seen pretty vocal and out during the GenZ movement and the immediate aftermath. What exactly was your role in that period, or how did you try to diffuse that transitional situation for when after September 8 and 9 things were very much like unsure? What was your role then?
Because as I told you, I had already foreseen that might happen any time. So, when it happened, this common sense prevailed, and now this needs to be supported, because some people were trying to vilify it. So, I came in defense of the movement, but there are certain questions remain unanswered. The way on the September 9th, the way large scale arson and all sort of destruction took place, there is still question. I see the commission is there, that should find out the actual truth behind it. There is some suspicion that There's some vested interest could have penetrated into it for their own wrong intentions.
During that period, there were even rumors that Dr. Bhattarai is going to lead the country. How did that come up?
No,
or was there anything like that?
No. I think that is just a rumor. I had no intention, I had no desire to do that. I think what has happened has happened now.
But that rumor also speaks about you as a politician and the expectation of the people on you, doesn't it?
No, I am thankful to the people for having trust on me, but I am not after personal power. Whole my life I have devoted for my country and the people. I will be happy to see my country and people prosperous and happy.
Dr. Bhattarai, my last question to you. Having been studied for a long time in India, as you said, your political ideology started there. Often, sometimes critics level you of being inclined toward the South or pro-Indian sort of level they put on you. What do you have to say on that?
I think I needn't respond on such issues. But what happens in politics is your opponents, when they don't find anything against you in a backward country like ours, just to brand you as somebody, pro-outsider, that becomes a very easy thing to divert the attention of the people. I think history will judge me. My whole political life of 50 years is open to all. I have devoted to my country and my people, and I will continue my mission till my death. So let history judge.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhattarai. Thank you so much for being part of the show Declassified, and hope that your vision of changing the country, transforming the country into a prosperous federal democratic republic will be soon materialized through your political vision. A wonderful conversation with Dr. Baburam Bhattarai, former Prime Minister. As I said, a rebellion in politics, and we talked about the current political situation, the future that he is seeing for this country politically. Thank you so much for being part of this. Do follow us on our social media handles and also our website www.nepaltvworld.com. Until next time, from the entire crew of Declassified, it's me Devendra Subedi saying bye-bye.